Good morning, everyone. I'm sitting out here in the ambulance trying to get a couple things taken care of. So I haven't put up a video in a little bit, and I wanted to put one out there to update everybody. So we were supposed to leave on the trip tomorrow. However, we're not going on the trip. I know most of you have heard, but for those who haven't, we're not going on the trip until much later in the year. So we've been having some fuel problems with the ambulance, and I know I've mentioned those from time to time. One of the problems with dirty fuel tank, dirty fuel filters. So we pulled all the filters out of it. We actually dropped the tank off of it, cleaned the tank, cleaned the lines, put a new filter and water separator system into it. And all that seems to be working pretty well. But if we start it up here in the driveway, it will idle here all day long, not a problem. We can move it around the yard, pull it out in the street, move the cars around, whatever. Don't have any issue with that. But if we get started down the road, after about 3 or 4 miles, it starts running really rough, and then it'll either really lose power and run rough or completely stop. So we took it on a ride down to Davidsonville, got about halfway there, and we ended up having to limp it back, and we had to stop 3 or 4 times on the way back because it'd start running rough. We'd pull over, let it idle. After, a couple minutes of sitting there resting, it would idle smoother, and off we went. We tried purging a lot of the air out of the valve, out of the fuel bowl, but it really wasn't an air problem. It wasn't a fuel problem to the fuel bowl. And in the other week, I did everything else that I could to fix it, and took it on another test drive, got 5 miles maybe, and it started running rough, pulled it over the side of the road, and let it smooth out, went down another mile maybe, and it started really running rough. I get over the side of the road and it died right there, and there I was for 2 hours on the side of the road. Couldn't get it to run. It would not start again, would not even try. It'd turn over and over and over and nothing. So did a lot of research, did a lot of discussion with the other diesel guys and the tow truck guy that brought it home. So yeah, I've had it towed. I've towed it 3 times in the time I've owned it, and I've never driven it out of the county. The tow truck guy kind of helped confirm what we were all thinking and hoping it was, and it's the high pressure fuel pump that's down in the lifter valley. It's got a pump that sits between the heads, right on top of the camshaft. It's a mechanical 2-stage pump, has a high pressure side and a low pressure side. And it's a pain to get to because this is a van style front end, and it's got the turbo on it, and it's got all the hoses and stuff in the front of it. So you have a little window about this big to try to get in there and pull this pump about this big out of. It's going to be a nightmare to get in there. So we're going to have to pull the turbo off of it and some other things. But it's a real inconsistent type of problem. We've troubleshot everything else we could. And the tow truck guy, he's like, yeah, I've seen that. Those, 7.3 power strokes, they definitely do that. It's definitely the pump in it. What it does is it only does it when it gets hot. When the pump heats up, when you're running down the road with a load on it, that's when you're going to see it. He's like, it'll sit there and idle all day long. You'll never have that problem, which is exactly what's going on. And we kind of thought that was the problem, but we weren't positive because it's hard to diagnose it and put your finger on it and say, that's what's broke. So anyway, we're going to pull that pump out of there, and we're going to put a new pump in. I was debating going to a electronic fill injection system where you pull the mechanical pump out, put an electric pump in it, and replace all the hoses in the lifter valley, and you get rid of that whole system completely. And I may still do that, but not yet, because I'm still researching it. Some of my research indicates the parts are available to do the thing for about $250 if you know what parts you need, or you can buy a kit to do it for $1,200. Well, I'm not spending that kind of money on a kit, and I don't know all the parts I need just yet, so I'm going to keep researching that. So we're going to pull it out, put a new pump in, put it back together, and even if I get it fixed tomorrow or the next day, we're not going to have the confidence in it that it's going to run 5,000 miles. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the pump as soon as we can. We've already started some of the work. get it running again, and drive it as much as we can all the way through the summer, as often as we can, put as many miles on it, and if it behaves itself and it does what we expect it to, then maybe in October, November timeframe, we'll look at taking this trip. I think that we'll be able to do that. It's hard to say right now. It's also hard to say with the price of diesel right now. We're in Maryland, and we just passed the gas station this morning running out to the store, and diesel at my local store is $6 a gallon. And we have a budget for this trip, and if diesel gets much more than that, then that's going to go outside of our fuel budget. Now, we could probably go a little bit higher if we need to, but I don't want to because that's expensive. That's a lot of fuel. And we don't know what kind of mileage this thing's going to get. We're hoping 13, but we have no idea if it's actually going to be 13. We know roughly how heavy this thing is, and we know the gear ratio in the rear axle. We know the motor that's there. But, you know, all the math on the back of the envelope only gets you so far. We actually need to run it down the road and see what we're getting. So, taking the turbo off, that's going to be a pain. We've got a couple of the bolts out, and one of the bolts is buried under the turbo, behind the intake type of thing, and you can only kind of get to it to touch it. So I had to go out this morning and get a special swivel socket to get in there, and I'm hoping this will fit. Normally, I have regular sockets, and I have the little universal joint that goes on the top of there, but this one with the socket is all too tall to fit in there. We'll see if that works. I may try to put some videos together of working on the motor, but it's difficult to do the filming and do the work at the same time. But as we get further into it, we'll see. We've only taken a couple of the bolts off, and I know that there's a lot of question on exactly how this thing comes apart. Let's see. We haven't done a whole lot of work with the inside. You can kind of tell behind me back there. The mattress is put in. Most of the stuff in the back is done. We got the refrigerator in, hot and cold running water. We didn't redo the floors just yet because we were expecting to take the trip quickly, and with going out to a place that's real sandy and dirty and whatnot, we kind of expected the floors to get all messed up. So we're like, well, we leave the old floors in. If they get messed up, we don't worry about it. But now that we've got time to work with, maybe we take the time to put the floors in. We'll have to see. We'll have to debate that. It's raining today, and I've got a wedding to go to later, so I'm not going to get all dirty and greasy and work on it today. So I'm just doing this video. I want to see if that socket fits, and if not, then I got to come up with a new idea because I don't know how else we're going to get to it. I think that's all for today. If you have questions, comments, concerns, by all means, put them in the comments. We'll take a look at them, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.